At a family gathering, I accidentally sat in my sister-in-law Maria's chair. The moment she saw me, her face turned red with anger. She stormed over, glaring at me, and without warning, she slapped me hard across the face in front of everyone. My face burned, not just from the slap, but from the embarrassment of it happening in front of my whole family. What hurt even more was my brother, Nathan. I always thought he would stand up for me, but instead, he took her side. At that moment, something inside me broke. I felt angry and wanted revenge. So, I decided to call the police and report what happened. But just before they arrived, something unexpected happened. Something that completely changed how I saw the situation. My name is Catherine. I'm 28 years old and work as a marketing specialist in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I love the city, the busy streets, the art, and the close-knit community that makes you feel like you belong. I have a nice apartment here, and my job keeps me busy. I'm proud of my work, but even more than my career, the most important person in my life has always been my younger brother, Nathan. Growing up, Nathan and I were inseparable. He was the little brother I had always wanted. We spent hours building blanket forts, exploring the backyard, and creating imaginary adventures. As he got older, our bond only grew stronger. I never thought anything could come between us, not even when he started dating. When Nathan first introduced me to his girlfriend, Maria, I was truly happy for him. She seemed perfect, charming, funny, and friendly. I remember the day we met at a family barbecue. Nathan's face lit up every time he talked to her, and I couldn't help but feel happy for him. "Catherine, you're going to love her," he had told me, full of excitement. "She's amazing." That night, Maria lived up to everything Nathan had said. She had a way of drawing people in. We laughed, shared stories, and for a while, I thought she was great. I had found a new friend. It felt so nice knowing my brother was with someone who made him happy. But over time, things changed. At first, I thought I was just getting used to sharing Nathan with someone else. But soon, Maria started acting differently. Nothing like the warm, friendly person I first met. She made little comments that stung. At first, I thought I was just being too sensitive. But her words kept coming, and they didn't feel so harmless. One Thanksgiving, I brought my special pumpkin pie, a family recipe from our grandmother that I had spent hours perfecting. When it was time for dessert, Maria smirked and said, "Oh, I thought I was supposed to bring dessert this year." She said it like it was no big deal, but her words embarrassed me in front of everyone. I forced a smile and replied, "Must have slipped my mind," but my face burned with embarrassment. As the months passed, her comments got worse. One night at dinner, she turned to me with a smirk and said, "Still single, Catherine? You should really try dating someone. It might help with your personality." Her words hit me hard. I pretended to laugh it off, but inside it hurt. I started feeling more and more left out, like she was slowly pushing me out of my own family. One night, I finally opened up to my best friend, Henry, while we were out for coffee. "Henry, something feels off with Maria," I said, nervously stirring my drink. At first, I thought she was great, but now she just seems different. "Different how?" Henry asked, watching me closely. "She makes these comments that feel like insults, even though she says them like jokes. It's like she's trying to push me out of my own family." I felt frustration rise as I spoke. "Have you told Nathan about it?" he asked. I hesitated. I knew how much Nathan cared about her. I don't want to cause problems. He's so happy with her. Henry looked at me seriously. "Catherine, you deserve to feel safe and respected in your own family. Don't just ignore this." I knew he was right, but I didn't want to bring it up with Nathan. So I stayed quiet, hoping things would get better. But they didn't. They got worse. Maria started interfering in my relationship with Nathan. She deleted messages he sent me or forgot to tell me about family events. I felt like she was slowly pushing me out of my brother's life, little by little. Then came the day at the family gathering when I unknowingly sat in her chair. That small action was enough to make her furious. When she slapped me, everything I had been holding back came crashing down. I decided I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. I was ready to call the police, to stand up for myself, and to make sure she faced the consequences. But before the police could arrive, something happened. Something that made me stop and think. I was starting to feel like I was losing my brother, and the worst part was that I didn't know how to fix it. Things finally reached a breaking point at another family dinner at our parents' house. I had arrived early to help set up, hoping to have a nice time with everyone. As the family gathered, I found a chair and sat down, not thinking much of it. Then Maria walked in. She stopped and stared at me, her face twisting with anger. "Excuse me. That's my seat," she snapped. I blinked, confused. "I didn't realize there was a specific spot for you," I said. Her eyes narrowed, and suddenly, the whole room felt tense. "It's always been my spot. You should know that by now," she said, her voice full of irritation. Everyone was staring, looking just as uncomfortable as I felt. My heart raced as I tried to stay calm. "It's just a chair, Maria. Let's not make this a big deal," I said, hoping to lighten the mood. Even Nathan tried to help. "Come on, let's not make a scene," he said. But Maria didn't back down.
"No.
Catherine is always trying to take everything from me. She's always trying to steal my spotlight." Her words hit me like a punch. I felt my face heat up. "I'm not trying to take anything," I said quietly. I was just sitting down like everyone else. But before I could say anything more, the tension in the room exploded. I knew in that moment that this would change everything in our family. And I realized I had to face it, not just for me but for Nathan too. It felt like a storm was building inside me, ready to break free. After dinner, things got chaotic. My mind kept spinning with Maria's harsh words, accusing me of trying to take things from her. Family had always been my safe place, where I felt loved and supported. But now, it felt like a battleground, and I didn't understand why. Later that night, Nathan sent me a text. "Can we talk? Maria feels terrible about last night." I sighed, guessing Nathan was just trying to keep the peace like he always did. I wanted to say something sharp, but instead I replied, "Sure, I'd like to talk too." That weekend, we met at a park. It was a sunny day, but I felt heavy inside because of everything that had happened. Nathan walked over, looking nervous, his forehead wrinkled with worry. "Catherine, I'm really sorry about what happened last night. Maria didn't mean for it to go that far," he said, hoping I would forgive her right away. I looked at him, struggling to put my feelings into words. "Nathan, it's not just about the chair. It's how she treats me, the things she says. They hurt." I needed him to understand that this wasn't just a small problem for me. Nathan sighed, his shoulders dropping. "I know she can be intense, but she's been under a lot of stress lately. Maybe it would be better if we all just tried to avoid conflict." A wave of disappointment hit me. "Nathan, ignoring it won't make it go away. I feel like she's pushing me out of your life, and I don't want that." His eyes softened, but I could tell he felt torn between me and Maria. "I'll talk to her," he promised. "Just give it some time." But days turned into weeks, and nothing got better. In fact, Maria seemed even worse, especially at family gatherings. One afternoon at a barbecue, she slid up next to me with a smirk. "So, Catherine's still single? You must be really picky," she said, pretending to sound concerned. My face burned with embarrassment, but I tried to stay calm. "I'm just focused on my career right now, Maria," I replied, hoping to end the conversation. "Right, because that's working out so well for you," she shot back, laughing in a way that made my skin crawl. It was clear she wanted me to feel small and uncomfortable. After that, I started talking to my best friend, Henry, more and more. I felt lost, desperate for someone to help me make sense of it all. One evening at our favorite coffee shop, I stirred my drink absent-mindedly, spilling all my frustrations to him. The warm smell of coffee filled the air, but I felt anything but comforted. "It's like I'm walking on eggshells around her," I told him, exhausted. "No matter what I say or do, she gets upset." Henry looked at me, his face serious. "Have you ever thought about looking into her past? There might be a reason she acts this way." I hesitated, unsure if I wanted to go that far. My mind raced with doubts, but deep down I knew one thing. I couldn't keep living like this, feeling like I was losing my brother and my family to all this tension. I felt uneasy about looking into Maria's past. It felt like invading her privacy, and I worried it might only make things worse. Sometimes, you need to understand the enemy to protect yourself, Henry said firmly. His determination made me think, and after struggling with my feelings, I finally decided to look into her past. It didn't take long before I found some troubling information online. There were mentions of toxic relationships and even restraining orders filed against her by past partners. My heart pounded as I read through the details. Who was this person my brother had chosen to marry? Feeling both anxious and determined, I shared what I had found with Henry. She has a past that worries me, I told him. This might explain why she acts the way she does. Henry's face grew serious. Catherine, you need to tell Nathan. He deserves to know who he's really dealing with. That evening, I finally found the courage to invite Nathan over for dinner. I wanted it to feel like old times, hoping a familiar meal might make the conversation easier. When he arrived, I noticed how tired he looked, like he had been carrying a heavy burden. Thanks for coming, Nathan. I made your favorite, chicken Alfredo, I said with a smile, trying to lighten the mood. Thanks, Catherine. It smells great, he replied, but I could see the worry in his eyes. Once we sat down, I took a deep breath, knowing this conversation could change everything. Nathan, I need to talk to you about Maria again, I began, keeping my voice steady. His face darkened slightly. I thought we agreed to let things cool down, he said, sounding exhausted. I wish we could, I admitted, but I found something about her that really worries me. I don't think you fully understand who she is. His expression shifted. What do you mean? He asked, concern flashing in his eyes. I laid everything out, the toxic relationships, the restraining orders, and even how she had been interfering in my life. Nathan, she's been sabotaging my career. She's spreading rumors about me to my clients. I can't let her hurt you too. Nathan's face changed as he took in my words. He looked torn and overwhelmed. This is a lot to process, Catherine. I don't know what to think, he muttered, his voice shaking slightly. Before he could say more, there was a sudden, loud knock at the door. My heart raced as we exchanged a nervous glance. Who could that be? He asked, tension creeping into his voice. I don't know, I replied, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. I had a bad feeling as Nathan opened the door. A wave of unease washed over me. Standing there was Maria. Her face was flushed with anger, but I also saw a hint of fear. My heart sank as she pushed past Nathan without even looking at me. Nathan, we need to talk. Now, she demanded, her voice sharp and urgent. Nathan glanced at me, looking unsure. We were in the middle of a conversation, he said hesitantly. Maria spun around to face me, her eyes full of suspicion. You've been filling his head with lies, haven't you, Catherine? My pulse quickened, but I kept my voice steady. That's not true, Maria. I'm just trying to protect him. She let out a bitter laugh. Protect him? You mean keep him all to yourself, right? I know your type, Catherine. Enough, Nathan cut in, his voice uneasy as he tried to take control. Maria, let's not do this right now. But Maria wasn't backing down. Oh, I think we need to, she snapped. You're so busy listening to her nonsense that you don't even see what's really happening here. The air felt thick with tension, but I forced myself to stay calm. Maria, I'm not trying to come between you two. I just want both of you to be happy. She scoffed, crossing her arms tightly. Happy? You think you can just walk in and tell us how our relationship should be? I'm not going to let you control our lives. I'm not trying to control anything, I said, my voice shaking. I'm just worried about you both. Maria stepped even closer, her voice low and sharp. You think you're better than me, don't you? With your perfect job, your perfect life? Well, I'm sick of it. Her words hit like a slap, full of bitterness and resentment. It was as if everything she had been holding back was finally spilling out. Nathan looked torn, his eyes shifting between us, unsure of what to do or say. As I stood there, facing her anger and feeling the weight of everything, I realized this was just the beginning. The cracks in our family were getting deeper, and I wasn't sure if we could fix them. I had never thought of myself as better than Maria. I just wanted to be part of this family. I'm not trying to put you down, Maria, I said softly. I want us to be a family, I said, my heart racing as I tried to stay calm. But Maria leaned in, her eyes burning with anger. Family? You're a threat to everything I've worked for. You've been trying to tear us apart from the start, she hissed. A surge of anger rose in me. I have never tried to tear you two apart. I just want my brother to be safe, I said, my voice shaking. Before I could say anything more, Maria's face twisted with rage. Then, in a sudden and shocking move, she slapped me hard across the face. The sharp sound echoed through the room. I stumbled back, stunned by both the pain and the shock of what had just happened. Nathan's eyes widened in disbelief. Maria, what the hell? He shouted, clearly shaken. I touched my cheek, feeling the sting spread through my body. Tears welled up in my eyes, but I fought to keep them back. You can't just hit me and expect everything to be okay, I said, my voice trembling with hurt and anger. Maria took a step back, and for a moment, her expression changed, almost like she regretted it. I didn't mean to, she mumbled, but there was no real sincerity in her voice. I narrowed my eyes. No, you meant it, I shot back, my frustration finally breaking through. You've been manipulating everyone around you. Nathan looked between us, his face filled with confusion, concern, and anger. This is not okay, Maria. You can't treat Catherine like this, he said firmly. The tension in the room was unbearable, but for the first time, I felt a small sense of relief. Nathan was finally standing up to her. But as I looked at Maria, I saw how deeply broken the situation had become. Her face turned cold, and her voice became icy. I'm done with this, she said suddenly. You think you can just come in here and ruin my life? You're nothing but a spoiled brat. Enough. Nathan's voice boomed through the room. I can't believe this is happening. I thought we could work through our problems, but you've crossed a line, Maria. His voice shook with anger and disappointment. A heavy silence fell over us. The weight of what had just happened pressed down like a dark cloud. I realized then that this fight wasn't just about Maria and me anymore. It was tearing our whole family apart. And I didn't know if anything could fix it. Just then, the sound of sirens filled the air outside. My heart pounded as a police car pulled up in front of the house. My stomach dropped. I tried to process what was happening. What's going on? Maria asked, her voice shifting from anger to panic. Nathan turned to her, his face filled with disappointment. I don't know, but it looks like someone must have called the police about what happened, he said, his voice heavy with regret. As the police officers approached the door, I felt a wave of uncertainty. Things had gotten completely out of control, far beyond anything I had ever imagined. All I could do was brace myself for what was about to happen. Reality was sinking in. Nothing would ever be the same again. One of the officers stepped inside, his expression serious. Ma'am, we received a report of an altercation. Can you tell us what happened? He asked, looking directly at Maria. Maria's face changed. I saw panic in her eyes. I didn't do anything, she stammered, her voice shaking. I just had a disagreement with her. Nathan cut in, his frustration boiling over. A disagreement? You slapped my sister across the face. The officers exchanged glances, their expressions growing more serious. We'll need to take statements from everyone involved, one of them said. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Maria has been aggressive toward me for a while now. This isn't the first time, I explained, keeping my voice as calm as I could. Nathan looked at me, his eyes wide with disbelief and regret. Catherine, I didn't want it to come to this. I thought we could work things out. Clearly, that's not going to happen, I replied, feeling a mix of emotions. Part of me wanted to protect my brother from the pain of this moment, but another part of me needed him to see just how serious this was. As the officers took our statements, I could feel Maria's anger simmering beneath the surface. She glared at me, her voice full of bitterness. You're ruining my life. You think you're the good sister, but you're just jealous, she spat, her eyes full of resentment. My heart pounded, but I kept my voice steady. Jealous? I just want you to be honest with yourself and with Nathan. Once we had all given our accounts, the officers stepped aside to discuss the situation among themselves. The tension in the room was unbearable as we waited, each of us lost in our own thoughts. I looked at Nathan. His face showed just how torn he was, caught between loyalty to Maria and the truth. I could see that he was finally starting to see things clearly. Maria stood there with clenched fists, her face a mix of anger and fear. As we waited for the officers to decide what would happen next, I felt a deep sadness wash over me. This wasn't how I had ever imagined my family would be. I had hoped for a sister-in-law who would bring us closer together, not one who would tear us apart. But as I stood there, carrying the weight of the last few months, I knew one thing for sure. There was no going back. I knew there was no turning back. Tonight had changed everything I thought I knew about my brother and his wife. As the officers returned, I braced myself for what was coming. The family we once were was gone, and I didn't know if we could ever go back to how things used to be. I turned to Nathan, speaking softly but seriously. Nathan, you have to see how toxic she is. I'm really worried about you. He ran a hand through his hair, looking lost and unsure. I know things have been hard, but I love her, Catherine. I just need time to think, he said, his voice almost pleading. Before I could answer, the officers stepped forward. Ma'am, one of them said, looking directly at Maria. We are placing you under arrest for assault.
What?
You can't do this. Maria shouted, her voice rising in panic. It was just a misunderstanding. She kept protesting as they cuffed her and led her away. I watched her go, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. I hadn't expected things to end this way, but maybe this was the only way forward. I glanced at Nathan. His face was pale, his whole body tense. I could see the weight of everything crashing down on him. I can't believe this is happening, he whispered, his voice shaky. I placed a hand on his arm. I know this is hard, I said gently. But you have to understand, her behavior wasn't just a phase. She's been manipulating you, Nathan. She's been pushing me out of your life. The reality of the situation settled over us as the police car drove away with Maria inside. It felt like a heavy door had just closed on this chapter of our lives. The woman who once seemed so charming had turned into a source of chaos. And now she was gone. The weeks that followed were tough. Maria faced real consequences for her actions. She was charged with assault and later sentenced to 5 years in prison. Nathan struggled with a whirlwind of emotions, anger, betrayal, sadness, and confusion. We spent hours talking through everything, slowly piecing together all the red flags he had missed. As time passed, he began to understand just how much she had controlled and manipulated him. Through it all, Henry was by my side. His support and calm presence made all the difference. He helped me heal when I felt overwhelmed. One evening, as we sat in my apartment, he reached for my hand. You're incredibly strong, Catherine. I'm proud of how you stood up for yourself, he said warmly. I felt a deep gratitude swell inside me. Thank you, Henry, I replied, squeezing his hand. I couldn't have done it without you. Looking back on everything, I realized I had learned some important lessons about love, loyalty, and standing up for myself. I had faced a toxic situation head-on, and I had come out stronger than I ever thought possible. As I stood by my apartment window, looking out over the Baton Rouge skyline, I felt a new sense of hope for the future. I knew I was ready for whatever came next. I had the strength to protect myself and the people I loved from toxic influences. Life was mine to shape, and for the first time, I felt truly in control. I was ready to move forward, stronger, more confident, and prepared to start a new chapter. A chapter that was finally my own.